How much does rideshare insurance cost? Jumping right into it because I hate wasting people's time. As you can see right here, I'm on wallethub.com. Rideshare insurance costs anywhere between $6 and $25 per month. As you can imagine, it depends upon the company. Do you also have auto insurance with them? So you're kind of bundling. What do they offer when it comes to rideshare insurance? Going here to marketwatch.com. Same kind of thing, different companies like Geico, Progressive, USAA, and Allstate all offer rideshare insurance for as low as $6 per month. And then going right here, for most drivers, the cost is under $30 per month. 100% worth it. Then lastly, I'm gonna go to this site. This is Car and Driver, and you can see a more specific breakdown. Allstate, $20 a year. So that's super cheap. Erie is $9 to $15 a month. Mercury is $27 a month. Safeco, never heard of that before, is $10 a month. State Farm, 15 to 20% of the driver's current premium. And then USAA starts at $6 per month. Now this video could definitely get a lot more technical, but I want to skim over this because I do think it's important to understand. What gets really tricky about rideshare insurance and ride-sharing in general is what stage are you in when that accident takes place. Now, as you can see right here, we have different periods, mainly 4, period 0, 1, 2, and 3. So period 0 is personal driving. You're just driving normally. And as you can see, Uber and Lyft, and this depends state to state in terms of the exact coverage specifics and finances and everything, that you're not covered. That makes sense. Period 1 is you're waiting for a rideshare request, meaning like say you turn the app on and you're just sitting there being like, all right, waiting for a request. So this is a very small period for a lot of drivers. Usually, especially in a city, you get a request like that. But as you can see, we have minimal liability covered with Uber and Lyft. And then when it comes to these companies, they're just using these 4 as examples, you are covered. Period 2 is you're now picking them up. So you got the request, you accepted the request, now you're driving to them. As you can see with Uber and Lyft, they do cover you. But again, the coverage, there's a lot of different factors. Your area has a factor into this, so I want to stress that just to let you know. And then going down to these companies, it does depend company to company. So Farmers, you're not covered if you're going to pick somebody up. But let's say with State Farm, you are. With Geico, you're not. This is why it's very important when it comes to rideshare insurance to understand okay, yeah, I'm paying $10 a month extra on top of my auto insurance. And as a side note, you should have auto insurance. If you don't, I don't know what you're doing. Pause this video, I'm not joking. Close out this video and go get auto insurance. You need it, even if you're not driving for Uber and Lyft. But looking at this, as you can see, this is where it gets tricky that, yeah, you might spend 10 extra bucks a month for rideshare insurance, but what is it actually covering? It's not just a blanket, oh, we're gonna cover you. It depends on these factors, which is kind of annoying. It is annoying to be like, wait, so State Farm covers me if I'm picking the person up, but Geico doesn't? That is super frustrating to know. And then lastly, period 3, as you can imagine, someone is in your car and then an accident takes place. This is definitely the most stressful and high stakes situation as there's multiple bodies in the car, a lot going on, so Uber and Lyft does cover you to an extent. Again, that's a whole other subject for a whole other video. Overall though, they have very, very limited coverage. If I'm gonna simplify that as much as possible, overall, just get rideshare insurance. It's gonna cost you, as I showed you, typically anywhere between $6 and $25 extra a month, but basically it's gonna be less than 30. That is 100% worth it. I mean, in a lot of places, you can make $30 in an hour-ish driving for Uber and Lyft. 100% worth it. Just have it just in case. Like I've mentioned in numerous videos, and I know this is kind of a very frightening thing to think about, but it's straight statistics. The more that you're on the road, the more likely than not, an accident is to occur, whether it's your fault or someone else's. And having extra insurance is super important to make sure that you're protected as much as possible. I've said this example numerous times in other videos, but the last thing you want to have happen to you is you're driving, you get into an accident, God forbid, let's say someone's in your car, luckily you're both safe, but let's say it was your fault. You call your auto insurance company and you say, yeah, I was driving through Uber and I looked down for a second to accept a new request, and then boom, and your insurance company says, whoa, whoa, whoa. You were driving for Uber? You got into an accident while you were driving for Uber and someone was in your car. We didn't know you were driving for Uber. We're not gonna cover you. And unfortunately, and not surprisingly, insurance companies will use any excuse they can to not cover you. This is a big thing to get because back in the day when I first started driving, I didn't get extra rideshare insurance. I mean, I don't even think they had it when I first started driving. And like I said, if I did get into an accident, luckily I never did, but I don't think it would have been a huge issue to get covered just because Uber and Lyft was still so new. Rideshare insurance didn't really exist yet, especially as its own entity. But now, I mean, a lot of insurance companies can say, hey, yeah, you got into an accident. Yeah, you have auto insurance, but guess what? We have extra rideshare insurance and you didn't get it. So sorry, we're not going to cover you. And obviously, I'm going right now into the worst case scenario land. I'm going heavily down that path of Murphy's Law, but this is something to keep in mind, especially for my full-time drivers. And I know I'm rambling and ranting a bit, but especially for my full-time drivers out there who are putting on those hours, those miles, doing all these rides. Just get it. It is a very small price to pay to make sure you're covered as much as possible.